You have heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say to you, do not resist an evildoer. But if anyone strikes you on the right cheek, turn the other also. And if anyone wants to sue you and take your coat, give your cloak as well. And if anyone forces you to go 1 mile, go also the 2nd mile. Give to everyone who begs from you, and do not refuse anyone who wants to borrow from you. Welcome to another St. John Norrona midweek message. That is a well-known and frequently quoted passage of Scripture. And it's also a well-known and frequently abused passage of Scripture. A lot of people have used it to justify abusive behavior, saying that Jesus says, let anybody do anything you want, that they want to do to you. That's not quite what it says. It's helpful to know a little bit about ancient Near Eastern customs. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth was a progressive policy in a time when there wasn't really much of a rule of law, but the law of vendetta. If you hurt my family, I'm going to hurt your family. And it tended to escalate into blood feuds. So this ancient law, limiting retribution to not more than was done to you, was actually a progressive thing. And Jesus is saying it's time to take that even farther. Don't take retribution at all. Then he has this fascinating passage. If anyone strikes you on the right cheek, turn the other also. Now, does he mean let them hit you on the other side? It doesn't quite work that way. See, the Roman Empire and the time of Jesus was a time of very strict social expectations. There were right ways to do things and very clearly wrong ways to do things. If one was to strike an underling in that society, that meant anybody who was your social inferior. In that world, that meant slaves. For men, it meant any woman. They were considered to be your social inferior. But there were ways that you could strike someone who was under you, an underling. You would strike them with the back of your right hand. If you struck with the palm or with the fist, that made you an equal. You would strike with the back of the hand, an underling. So if someone strikes you with the back of their hand, they're treating you like you are less than they are. Now, imagine you strike with the back of your hand. It comes like this. He says, turn to them the other cheek also. Now what's going to happen? Are they going to strike you again with the back of their hand? No, they're going to hit you in the face. This looks a lot more like a punch. They're not going to strike you with the left hand, because if someone strikes you with the left hand, you are obliged to kill them. That is the most nasty insult you could do to anyone, is to strike them with the left hand in that culture. The left hand is for particular things, which we won't discuss right here. And it did not involve touching someone else. So, to turn the other cheek means to force that person to deal with you not as an underling anymore, but no, I'm your equal. You can't treat me as though I'm worth less than you. He says also then, goes on with, if anyone wants to sue you and take your coat, give your cloak as well. The Mosaic law is very clear on this one. You could take someone's outer garment as surety or guarantee on a loan. But if you've got their inner garment, you have to give it to them for the night so that they can sleep in it. Someone sues you and takes your coat, give them your other garment as well. If someone has all of your clothes and you're left naked, interestingly, in that culture, the one who has taken the garment is the one who has the shame. They are shaming themselves by exposing your nakedness. So it is actually a way of claiming back your humanity. If anyone forces you to go 1 mile, go also the 2nd mile. This one's also fascinating. A Roman soldier had the right, by Roman law, to command any civilian to carry their backpack for a mile. But if they carried it more than a mile, they would have to pay that person. So if the soldier forces you to carry the pack for a mile, don't give it back. Just keep going. Go another mile. Their superior officer will force them to pay you for it. Again, it's not being treated as worthless. So Jesus' message is far from telling us to roll over and be a doormat. It's be a full human being. And you have the right to demand that others treat you as a full human being, not as someone of lesser value. We are all God's children. We all have the right to dignity, to respect, and no one has the right to abuse you. You have the right to abuse no one. We are all children of the one who created us and custodians of the image of God. And we are due respect as a result. So, love one another, respect one another, and don't let anyone treat you as less, because you are not less than anyone else. Amen.